Today, we're digging into a really fascinating analysis that kicks off with one single dramatic event over Ukraine. But trust me, it quickly spirals into a much bigger argument, a claim that there's a huge new technology gap between Russia and Western military powers.
All right, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at the event that started it all, the reported downing of an F-16. Then we'll get into Russia's answer to modern air power, the Su-57 stealth fighter. After that, we'll compare the arsenals, just as the source material lays them out. And finally, we'll explore what this all supposedly means for NATO.
So let's get right to it. The entire analysis really hinges on this one foundational claim: a modern American-made fighter jet being taken out by a Russian missile system that's, well, pretty old. So according to the source, what happened was this: a Russian S-300 command center, and that's a system that's considered a step behind its more famous successor, the S-400, put out a notice saying it had neutralized a US-made F-16, and it did it with just 2 missiles. Now, the analysis really wants you to focus on the contrast here. On one hand, you've got a defensive missile system from the 1990s. On the other, a 4th-generation fighter jet built for air superiority. These are jets with advanced electronics and incredible maneuverability, but they were designed before stealth became the big thing. This right here is the core of that mismatch claim. And it's not just a tactical thing, right? The source frames this in purely economic terms, and the numbers are just wow. You're looking at assets worth roughly $140,000 US, reportedly taking down an asset worth around $72 million. That's a tactical event with absolutely massive financial implications. Okay, so that brings us to the next piece of the puzzle in this analysis. The focus shifts to Russia's 5th-generation fighter, the Su-57. And the key difference with a 5th-gen jet is that stealth technology isn't an afterthought. It's baked into its DNA from the very beginning. So the source points to a statement from the head of Russia's state-owned defense corporation. And the claim is a big one, that the Su-57 was operating in Ukraine and was never once detected by any radar or anti-missile defense systems, completely invisible electronically speaking. So you have to be asking, how is that even possible? Well, the analysis says the answer comes down to one key capability: stealth technology. But what does stealth really even mean when you get down to it? Okay, this is super important. Stealth is not an invisibility cloak. That's sci-fi. What it really is a collection of clever engineering tricks, special shapes, radar-absorbent materials that all work together to shrink how big an aircraft looks on an enemy radar screen. It makes it incredibly hard to get a lock on. Here's a great way to think about it. A normal plane is like shouting into a cave. That echo comes right back at you, telling you exactly where the wall is. But a stealth aircraft, with all its weird angles and special coatings, is designed to be like a soundproofed wall in that cave. You shout, but the echo gets deflected and absorbed, and it never comes back to you. The listener has no idea you're even there. Okay, so you've got the F-16 claim, you've got the Su-57 claim, and when you put those two pieces together, the analysis makes its biggest argument yet, that we're now seeing a major and growing technology gap between Russia and Western European countries. And this table from the analysis really lays out their case in black and white. It claims that Russia has critical technologies like hypersonic missiles and even unlimited range missiles that Western Europe just doesn't have. And on top of that, it points to a huge advantage in how far their air defense can reach.
The analysis really hammers this point about air defense. It claims Russia's S-500 system can hit targets up to 800 kilometers away. Meanwhile, it says Western European systems are capped at less than 200 kilometers. That is a 4 times difference in the size of the defensive bubble they can create.
And it's not just about the super advanced, top-tier systems. The analysis also points to raw industrial power. It makes this incredible claim that Russia can churn out up to 1,000 drones in a single day, a manufacturing speed that it argues Western European nations just can't keep up with right now. So what's the bottom line here? What's the so what? Well, the report argues that this isn't just a list of cool tech specs. It claims this technology gap is creating a massive strategic problem and causing some serious cracks to appear inside the NATO alliance. This quote really captures the whole argument in a nutshell. The analysis is basically saying that because of this alleged tech gap, European nations know they can't go it alone. They become fundamentally dependent on the United States for their security, and that creates a pretty serious power imbalance within the alliance. And what's more, the source alleges that this protection isn't a free lunch. It claims the US has laid down some really strict conditions for its allies. Things like demanding they spend a full 5% of their GDP on defense, buying weapons exclusively from America, and even being ready to give up territory, with Greenland being cited as a specific example. So, the analysis then lays out this timeline, kind of connecting the dots to paint a picture of an alliance under some serious stress. It starts with a shift in energy dependence, moves to what it calls increasing American pressure, and ends with some European leaders supposedly starting to back away from a hardline stance and suggesting it's time to talk with Russia.
And that brings us to the final, really provocative question that this whole analysis has been building towards. Based on all these claims, the technology gap, the strategic dependency, the political pressure, is the NATO alliance, the most successful military alliance in history, actually starting to fracture from the inside? It's a powerful and pretty unsettling thought to leave you with.